Hey guys, it's Aura and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be talking about all the books, movies and TV shows that I finished in the month of July in 2020. This month was a good month for reading. I read about 7 books and for me that's pretty good. I've been getting back in the reading groove and it's getting easier for me to finish things and not just read 100 pages and then put the book down. I've watched 3 movies and I finished 2 TV shows, so on that side of things maybe not as good, but to be honest I've been focusing more on reading, which is why I've finished so many books. I know there's a lot of people out there that can finish 2 books in a week, 10 books in a month, something like that. That is not me at all. That used to be me, but now I find that really difficult and it's just, I take a lot longer to read things than I used to. So one of the books that I read this month was The Dreamers by Karen Thompson Walker. This book has one of the scariest concepts that I've ever read about. Basically, it's set in this college town and one day one of the girls in the college comes back to her dorm and falls asleep, and no one can wake her up. This carries on for 24 hours and then 48 hours and still no one can wake her up, and then suddenly her heart stops and she dies. And then other girls begin falling asleep and dying, and this disease begins to spread throughout this town. This was a really interesting book. I didn't get exactly what I thought I was going to get out of this book. I thought it would be more centered around one character, but we ended up seeing from a lot of different points of view, which I thought was really interesting, and I really liked how many stories we went through. It wasn't really about the illness. I found this book was more about the people and how they reacted to it. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it and I would recommend it to anyone who likes reading about an epidemic. I especially love the cover for this book. I really like it, so. Another book that I read this month was Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. This, I think, was the only fantasy book that I read this month. This book is very similar to Harry Potter, but it's really not Harry Potter at all. I think if you go into it expecting it to be too much like Harry Potter, you just won't get what you're asking for. This book was really good. I ended up giving it 4 stars, mostly because I spent 150 pages waiting for Baz to turn up, and when he finally did, everything was great. It was so much better. I really enjoyed this book. The romance was great. I got everything I wanted out of it, almost everything, and I'm definitely going to read Wayward Son when I get a chance. Now, I'm going to discuss the TV show that I watched this month. I finished watching Russian Doll at the beginning of this month. This TV show is about a 36-year-old woman on her birthday in New York. She's the kind of person who doesn't really take care of herself. She'll take whatever kind of substance, she'll do whatever, she doesn't really care. She's just going through life, doing what she wants. And this is her 36th birthday party. She goes through the night, events happen, things go down, and then she gets hit by a car and dies. And then she turns up back at her 36th birthday party in the same spot she was in before. And this keeps going round and round in a loop, and she has to figure out why she's in this loop and how to get out of it. This was a really interesting TV show. I will say it definitely gets very creepy, especially towards the end. Be careful, because this concept just in general really freaked me out, but I thought it was really interesting. The writing was fantastic, the concept was amazing, the dialogue, the acting, just so many good things about it. I highly recommend this. Okay, I'm gonna talk about a movie that I watched this month. It wasn't a good movie. This month, I watched the movie Raising the Bar. It was horrible. It was so bad. I hated it so much. This movie... This movie is about an American gymnast who moves to Australia and then starts doing gymnastics there with a not so good gymnastics team, and she's kind of like the because American gymnastics is just really good. It was really bad. The directing was horrible, the acting was horrible, the dialogue was horrible. It wasn't even realistic. I'm gonna spoil you about this movie because you don't want to watch it, so I'm not even gonna care about spoilers. At the end, they're doing this whole gymnastics meet, okay? She's doing, our main character, she is doing her floor routine and she's doing all these really simple jumping passes. I haven't seen a single double flip this entire movie. I kept expecting someone to do like a double pike or a double tuck or a double Arabian. They didn't even get stunt doubles that could do them. It was so bad. And my reaction was, this is an elite program. If you're doing elite programs, there will be people doing double flips. That's a thing. It's pretty common. But no, not a single one. I didn't see a single one, which I thought was a bit dumb. And then our main character, we haven't seen her do a single double flip either, decides after messing up a simple tumbling pass to go yeet out a double back tuck as her final jumping pass in her full routine and saves the day with that extra point thing, which is insane because she'd never discussed training it, she'd never been training it, and I thought it was ridiculous. Now, it was much harder than everything else everyone was doing, but I still thought it was ridiculous that she was doing that and she hadn't been training it and she just decided to yeet it out. You don't just randomly yeet out a double tug. Most of the time, if you have a pass like that, you'll do it at the beginning if it's really that hard for you. And the romance was horrible, and just the relationships and the accents. It was just overdone. Too much. I didn't like it. Yeah, no, I actually deliberately downloaded the IMDb app so I could go rate that movie 1 star. That's how much I hated it. I really am that petty. The next book that I read was also about gymnastics. This month I read Head Over Heels by Hannah Orenstein. This is about a girl who once upon a time was an elite gymnast, a proper elite gymnast. She was aiming to go to the Olympics, she was really good, she was amazing on the floor, she was ready to go to London and win gold and all around and be that boss girl, you know, be Gabby Douglas, be Simone Biles. And then at the Olympic trials, she's doing a double twisting double back and she rips her knee and obviously can't go to London and her career is ended. And her life from then kind of fell apart. So that's sad. After breaking up with her football star boyfriend, American football by the way, she goes to live with her parents back in her hometown and she's asked to help coach this girl on floor, what used to be her best event. She specializes in it. So she's coaching this kid who needs help with floor. And it's that story, coaching this kid towards the 2020 Olympics. This book was meant to come out for the Olympics. Obviously that didn't happen. I enjoyed this book. It was a lot of fun. I ended up giving it 3 stars. The romance wasn't amazing. There was some stupid bits. I don't know how I felt about all of it, but you know, it's fine. I did enjoy this book, and if you like gymnastics, this is a lot more accurate than Raising the Bar. Oh my god. You can tell this person has watched and experienced and done gymnastics. Another book that I read this month was The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. I really enjoyed this book. I read it for the reading rush and I ended up giving it 5 stars. This is just a really touching coming of age story. We see our character grow up so much during his first year at high school and I really liked it. I thought it was really interesting and I overall just thought it was a good book. If you like coming of age novels, this is definitely one for you. I'm gonna go watch the movie now. Maybe I'll talk about it next month. The other TV show that I finished watching this month was a South African web series that was available on Netflix called Blood and Water. The premise for this is this girl, our main character, I literally forgot her name. I watched this TV show so quickly and I've forgotten literally everyone's names in the show. She has a sister, and when her sister was a baby, hours after she was born, she was stolen from the hospital and disappeared, and she's been gone for 17 years, and this is the premise of the story. One day, our main character goes to a party, and she doesn't realize that this is a birthday party, and this is a girl with the same age and same birthday as her long-lost sister who disappeared 17 years ago. And she decides to change schools to go to the same school as this girl to figure out if this girl really is her sister. I talked about this TV show to my mum because she actually used to live in South Africa once upon a time, in a very different South Africa, but you know, she did hear about stories like this and I told her about this story and she was like, yeah, no, I've heard about this exact kind of thing happening. Not in the same way, obviously. This is obviously extremely dramatized because it's a drama, but she had heard of a story just like that and I looked it up and it's not based off a true story, but there's no way in hell it's not inspired because there's a story that is almost exactly like this. This month I also read Forever X by Geraldine McCall-Green. I read this for the reading rush. This is the book that I read completely outside. This was just a little novella really. It was 100 pages. I didn't really find it particularly interesting. I ended up giving it 2 stars. It wasn't the most compelling of books. I didn't really care much about the characters. I thought the concept was interesting. Basically this family, they run out of petrol in their car and they have to stop and stay in this B&B, which is the only bed and breakfast that's available around, and in this B&B it is constantly Christmas. It's a very interesting book, an interesting concept, but I ended up giving it 2 stars. It just wasn't particularly interesting. I also read Ready Player One this month. I loved this book. I ended up giving it 5 stars. I love the concept and I like the writing and I like all the references in here. I really enjoyed it and I understand why it's really popular. I'm tempted to watch the film, but a lot of people don't like it. I'm still kind of unsure about this. I also read this book for the reading rush. This month I watched Private Benjamin, which is a Goldie Hawn film. This film is basically about this woman who on her wedding night her husband died, so she decides to join the army because she's fed up with her life. And it's great! It's super feminist and awesome and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great and there's a lot of character development, which is always nice to see. This month I also watched The Kissing Booth 2. Guys, it was so bad and apparently there's gonna be a Kissing Booth 3. I'm not watching it. This was horrible. I didn't mind The Kissing Booth 1. I didn't like it that much and the movie, this Kissing Booth movie was so bad. The dialogue was horrible. The storyline just made me cringe, and I cringed, and I cringed. I watched that movie on Tisha B'Av, which is the most depressing day of the Jewish calendar. To be honest, I think it was pretty fitting considering how much pain I was in watching it. I tortured myself. I also was extremely dehydrated and hungry while watching this film, which didn't help anything. And finally, the last book that I managed to read this month was I Shirtless by Uzma Jalaluddin. This was another book that I read for the reading rush. This book was great. It was basically a Pride and Prejudice retelling in a Muslim household in Canada. I ended up giving this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I think just one of the holdbacks with retellings is if it's close enough to the original story, you'll know what's going to happen roughly, so I wasn't really surprised by much, but I loved the characters and I really enjoyed the writing style, and I loved the Pride and Prejudice tidbits because while Pride and Prejudice isn't my favourite classic, I still love the theme and I really liked how she brought it in here. So yeah, those are all the books, movies and TV shows that I finished this month. If you like this video, please give a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, please consider checking out my Twitter and my Goodreads. The links for both of those are going to be in the description. Also, if you want to know what background music I use, the link for that is also going to be in the description. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and I hope you come back to my channel. Press the notification bell if you want to be notified about any new videos. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!